Hello and welcome everyone to French Bread's Dark Souls 3 Lorerun. I am the self-proclaimed French Bread, but you can also call me Chris if you prefer. So, we are starting up back in Lothric, having been summoned by Emma. We diverged slightly in the last episode so that we could recap everything we learned in the aftermath of dealing with Yorm. And before I moved back into the castle proper, I wanted to just come back to this great viewpoint and take stock of where we've been, how far we've come. As you can see, we were first dropped off in the undead settlement, moved down the path of sacrifice into the crucifixion woods. We diverged to the Cathedral of the Deep before doubling back and progressing through Faerun Keep and the duel, or the melee rather, with the Abyss Watchers in the Great Faerun Mausoleum there. From that point we traveled underground to the catacombs and emerged in Irithyll and Orlando. And then somewhere in about this area we went down underground again to explore the profaned capital. And now, fittingly, we are back on our way to Lothric. We've yet to explore the Archdragon Peak, but all things in time. And I also wanted to point out something that my friend Aiku pointed out to me, is that on the other side of the mountains here, tucked away, we actually see what is clearly some sort of village or burg or something. Now, to the best of my knowledge, we never traveled to this destination in-game. So, I imagine there's got to be a ton of speculation out there about what this place is and what connections it might have to previous games. For my part, I don't know. It could always, in an off chance, be just a bit of flavor background to show that there are things beyond the bowl of event sites that we encounter in the main game. But I'd be willing to bet that when the DLC finally does come out, we find ourselves heading in this direction. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. So now, without further ado, we're going to go back into that, I say cathedral a lot in this game, but into that cathedral-like structure where Emma was previously, before she expired, and we're going to utilize that Basin of Vows just as soon as we get past these mooks. We've come quite a ways since we had to deal with these guys before. You can see the Lothric Knights. At least these ones, they just don't deal the same damage that they used to. Shield break, please. Thank you. I just got unlucky with my attacks there more than anything. Oh, and I had equipped the Hawkwing. The venerable Hawkwing. The Hawk Ring in order to get a better view of what was going on. I think since we don't really need the Estus Ring as much anymore. Our Estus is healing quite a bit with each chug. So maybe I'll put on the Life Ring just to give us a little bit more HP. Now, the encounter I'm about to initiate here, I'm not sure if a fire weapon is the best idea for it, but we're going to give it a shot anyway. If things look grim, I'll switch up my gear and we'll move from there. And here we have the Dancer of the Boreal Valley. Quite possibly my favorite boss in the entire game. Both in terms of design and just kind of the flow of the fight. I'm a big fan of it. When well, we'll save that for later. Let's get with the fight itself for the time being. And down she goes. Sorry, you can tell I tried to get a little bit too fancy for my own good there at the end. Ended up taking a few more risks than are necessary. But hopefully that helped to illustrate a wider range of her moves and just how interesting of a boss the Dancer really is. Like, we were very high level 70 for this encounter. I think normally, well, at least for me, when I came through here, I was about level 50 or so my first time, and I just had an unusually bad time of dealing with the Dancer. She kept me preoccupied for probably the better part of an hour before I was able to beat her. And from everyone else I've talked to, that appears to be... It appears to be that I'm the exception. I have more trouble with the dancer than other people. You know, difficulty is subjective in Dark Souls. It's always been that way. But even despite the difficulty I had in dealing with the dancer, I came to really appreciate the fight. Just her kind of, sort of, you know, obviously her dance-like motions, but they're also somewhat unpredictable. She's got attacks that come out extremely fast, some that are delayed. The phase shift adds a really incredible new dynamic to the fight, where each mistake can shear off large chunks of your HP in no time at all. And yeah, I actually defeated the dancer on a low level once before. If at the very beginning of the game you elect to kill Emma, you can get the Basin of Vows immediately, and the dancer will emerge to challenge you, and you can basically fight the dancer if you want before you even fight Vort. And it is an immensely, for me anyway, I think probably for many others, at least those of us who are not, you know, among the extremely talented few, it's a big challenge beating the dancer at whatever level you're at, you get to Vord at. I took on that challenge just as a personal thing. I didn't do it for bragging rights, because I'm sure people are doing it at like level 1 with no dodging and no healing and all that other crap. I just did it for me because I enjoyed the fight, and it had given me so much trouble that I wanted to kind of use a low-level attempt at it to overcome that challenge. And I don't know, it paid off. I'm very familiar with the dancer now, and every time I fight it, it's a bunch of fun for me.
Oh,
But beyond just game design, I also value the dancer as a really interesting source of lore. And we're going to get right into that now as I snatch up her armor. You know, it's a real shame that we can't buy Yorm's armor. I bet that would look really dang cool. A little inconsistent in this game about what boss armors you can and cannot obtain.
Ashen one.
I'm sure we would have been doing, by the way, much more damage to the dancer if we had not been using a fire weapon. If you come through here with like a +7 great sword, or even like a fast twin dual wielding dex weapon, I promise you you'll have an even easier time of it than I did just now. It's all about how you encounter them, I suppose. So that thoroughly discussed, let's look at the items surrounding the dancer. Soul of the Dancer. The Pontiff Sullivan bestowed a double slashing sword upon a distant daughter of the former royal family, ordering her to serve first as a dancer and then as an outrider knight, the equivalent to exile. And I think this is just some bad localization, bad phrasing here when they say a double slashing sword. I'm pretty sure he just means a pair of slashing swords. The one cloaked in fire magic and the other in will look to be ash or dark magic. But there's an incredibly important part there. But I think I'm going to read through all of the dancer's items, and then we'll put the pieces together afterwards. And let's see. Dancer's Crown. Crown wore by the dancer of the Boreal Valley. The mirage-like Aurora Veil is said to be an article of the old gods, permitted only for direct descendants of the old royal family. Dancer's armor. The black eyes of the pontiff eventually transformed the dancer into a beastly creature, her armor fusing with her own hide. And the rest of the armor says about the same thing. Now let's look at what we can transpose, and then we will discuss.
Aha, thou so.
So the first thing to look out for where are they? Oh, there they are. First thing to look out for are the Dancer's enchanted swords. Paired enchanted swords that Pontiff Sullivan bestowed upon the Dancer of the Boreal Valley. These blades, symbolic of the Dancer's vows, are enchanted by dark magic in the right hand and fire in the left, mirroring the Pontiff. Which also, I feel like pointing out, by the way, very much mirrors the profane flame. Or at least what we surmise of it. And also, extremely interesting, from the soul of the dancer we can transpose the miracle soothing sunlight. Special miracle granted to the maidens of the Princess of Sunlight. Restores a large amount of HP for self and those in the general area. The miracles of Guinevere, the princess cherished by all, bestow their blessing on a great many warriors. All right.
Now.
So the dancer, not just another outrider knight driven mad by the pontiff's black eyes, but in fact a critical piece of the puzzle in figuring out what happened to the old nobility, the old family of Gwyn, after the events that drove them from Anne Orlando. The dancer is explicitly stated here to be a descendant of Gwyn's old family line. Or rather, at the very least, the old gods, but because it says but when it says the old royal family, we've already seen that referred to multiple times, or being connected multiple times to Gwyn and his family. So the dancer is the daughter of one of Gwyn's children. And we don't, I guess, specifically know how many children Gwyn ended up having. What we do know of are the eldest, the god of war, who had his name removed from the annals. We know of Gwendolen, the Dark Sun, and we know of Guinevere, Princess of Sunlight. It is possible that the dancer is related to Gwendolen, especially if she was residing in Irithyll, since it was full of moon-worshipping nobles. But the fact that you can transpose her soul into the soothing sunlight miracle also makes it seem very likely that she may be the daughter of Guinevere, or at least related to Guinevere's line somewhere in there. Unlike Gwendolen, where we can only speculate about whether or not he ever had children of his own, we know from one of the Divine Blessing, but there's also another item that said that Guinevere had multiple heavenly children before she herself disappeared. I feel like the dancer almost certainly was one of those children. And somehow or the other, the pontiff basically ensnared the dancer, either willingly or through deceit or trickery. We don't know, because by the time we encounter her, she has been turned into a beastly creature by the pontiff, no longer really capable of holding a conversation with us and telling us anything she might have known. Very cool character. Very cool boss. Very cool lore. Just a huge win for us, I'd say. I'm gonna swap her gauntlets on because I think they look a little bit better. Oddly enough, than the Witch Knight gauntlets do. But that's all we have as far as the dancer goes. We'll be using the information we've acquired from her, I suppose, to further inform later speculation we're going to make about Lothric.
Very well, then take note.
Let's level up some. We haven't leveled in a good long while. Could start jacking our strength, just so that we can meet the requirements for some coming items. I want to get our endurance to at least 25 though before I do. Then I'm going to start raising strength. And as you can see,
Farewell, may the
levels are costing quite a bit now. You'd be in a dismal position if you wanted to heal the dark sign this late in the game. Alrighty. By the way, I was talking about other things at the time, but that was quite the elaborate ritual. I think Marcus said this too, but it was quite the elaborate ritual just to lower a freaking ladder. So, immediately upon climbing this ladder, though, we are faced with a branching path. And we can assume that this is sort of the more direct forward path, and this is a side path. So let's scurry along the side path before we tackle the castle proper. As you can see, we are basically situated in between the two large separate buildings that make up Lothric. And we are hearing the cry of some kind of beast. Sorry, that tower, the shape of it strikes me as being somewhat familiar. I'm going to review some things before I comment on it, though. Before I go off half-cocked. I only want to go off mostly half-cocked. By the way, the reappearance of the Cathedral Knights is curious indeed. What reason would these suckers have for being in Lothric Castle? Their job was to guard the cathedral, after all. I'm gonna step off the elevator early here. Ugh. Should have bought some blooming purple moss, cause guess what status effect we are going to be encountering in the Consumed King's Garden. It's been quite a while, but we are faced once again with the Pus of Man enemy. Probably one of my top 5 most disliked enemies in Dark Souls 3. I think they're a bunch of bullshit, and they may kill me. And I'll definitely be irritated about it when they do. If they do. Let's think positive. If they do. You can see this kind of dark, corrupted ground leads to some rather quick toxic buildup. We're just gonna have to deal with that because we forgot to buy, and by we I mean me, forgot to buy blooming purple moss from the Shrine Handmaiden. Not fair. We can break our guard so easily. We gotta wail on him all day. I wonder... That's about 3 hits out of that. Man, these enemies, on top of everything else, they are noisy. Let's get this over with. This is gonna suck. Ow. Can't even see what I'm doing. Just die. Just die. I hate him. I hate him, guys. Sorry, you're gonna hear me say that more than once, I think. Well, you've already heard me say it more than once. Should've got some black fire bombs too. The best place you can really be with these guys is behind them, but they do have an attack that can, I believe, reach behind, and it can be a bit of a hassle getting behind in the first place. This will be the only time I actually kill these guys, just because I want to explore the area in a thorough fashion. Any other time I come through here, I'm just gonna run past these suckers, because it's just not worth. It's not worth my time. It's not worth your time. You know how it goes. And we're finally starting to get Titanite chunks, by the way, which means we can finally start leveling some of our weapons up past +6, which will be a great boon for us. We got one more of these pus enemies to deal with, though. Gladly, he will gladly hit me through the ground. I think I need to bring him up here or something. Just fighting him there is not going to work for us. Ech. Gotcha. Let's see if we can use his clipping against him. Of course not. Why would we get to have that? That would be too good for us, wouldn't it? One more, maybe. Ha ha ha! The range on this needs to be a little bit better, I think. And all they give you is large titanite. Such a ripoff. Such a total ripoff, this enemy. Yeah, let's try two-handing. Hopefully that'll let us kill these slugs in one. looks to be the case. First impressions on the Gargoyle Firehammer. Naturally it has the Great Hammer moveset, which is actually pretty good. It's a little exclusive to vertical attacks if you're one-handing, but if you bother to two-hand, you get a little bit of horizontal out of it. Not a lot to complain about there. I don't know if that guy's going to transform into another Puss of Man, and I intend to never, ever, ever find out. And we get a Dark Gem, which, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and draw connections and say that perhaps getting a Dark Gem in this location confirms that the Puss of Man are humanity gone wild, as opposed to being related to the deep, because that's always been something I've had to go back and forth with myself about, whether or not it was a deep or abyssal creature. Sorry guys for some of the weird pauses that might be occurring. The allergies are hitting me hard all of a sudden this evening, and it's messing with my throat, which is, you know, an irritating thing to have happen when you're in the middle of a lore run. Nevertheless, this side area, which my first time through the game I didn't even notice, is going to lead us to a fairly helpful shortcut. As long as the toxic doesn't get to us first. The presence of thralls just reminding us, I think, that Lothric is quite happy to utilize slaves. We see you, buddy. Like I said way at the beginning of this lore run, I'm not really watching anybody else's Dark Souls 3 videos right now. What did he buff himself with? Or what did they buff him with? I'm not really watching any other Dark Souls 3 videos right now, just so that I can have a relatively I don't know, I don't want to say untainted, but a relatively like original take on everything I encounter. But I definitely watch the EMB videos because, you know, I already discussed why, but thanks to him I have a very hard time saying Thrall when I encounter those guys. I always want to say Farvcox, and I lay that squarely at his feet. Which is really bad because I never got very far in Cave Story. Not because I didn't like it, just life things distracted me. So I don't even know what the hell a Farvcox is, but damned if that's not what I think about when I encounter thralls now. Alright. We've restocked our Estus. I know we could have gone to Firelink there to get ourselves some Bloomin' Purple, but I don't think we'll need it at this point. It's impressive to fall short that many times. There a third one I need to deal with? Sure is. Gotta love the weight of the Great Hammers. Well, I say that as if it's like an old hat for me, but as I've said before, this is really the first time I've given true, proper, weighty strength weapons a fair shake. And I do like them. I like them about as much as I like my nimbly pimbly dex weapons. I haven't won my heart entirely, but these strength weapons, but they're definitely pretty cool. And over here, the dragon scale ring and a view of that platform we were at before, which yes, does have a summon sign sitting at it. We will inspect that in just a moment. Best reason to come over here is this guy, who is going to cause you grief when you deal with the Cathedral Knights below. Either by, I think he can hurl some magic spells at you, but more irritatingly he buffs the knights down there, and I think he can even heal them. Let's check out this summon sign. Hawkwood the Deserter. We haven't seen him since we defeated the Abyss Watchers quite some time ago now. And originally I had wondered what had become of him. And no, Hawkwood, don't mess with those. I was duly surprised to see him here. And we will be using Hawkwood for the boss fight because it's not just for fun this time. It kind of plays into the second half of Hawkwood's story. Let's go ahead and bait the first of these Cathedral Knights out, because we sure as heck don't want to deal with two of them. Nope. Hawkwood got a little overzealous. Oh, Hawkwood got very overzealous. I don't think I can help Hawkwood anymore. Oh, fuck. Wow. Wow. Hawkwood. You very nearly died a horrible, horrible death there. Just because you were a Undead Legion Abyss Watcher trainee doesn't mean you can go messing around with two Greatsword Cathedral Knights like that. Alright, before we go any further, I want to check out that ring I picked up. Not the stoneplate ring, we'll deal with that later. Dragon Scale Ring. Ring of Oceiros, former king of Lothric. Reduces damage from backstabs. In his later years, Oceiros became fascinated with dragons. After going mad, he was more commonly known as the Consumed King. Many assassins were dispatched to his domain, but none returned. The Consumed King ascribed his resilience to the divine protection of the Dragon Scale. But apparently, the king has abandoned this protection. We can hear some truly haunting cries from beyond this fog gate. Buckle in, everyone.
You ignorant slaves. Finally taken notice, have you? Of the power of my beloved Ocelot, child of dragons. Well, I will not give him up. For he is all that I have. Dear little Ocelot, where have you gone? Are you hiding from me? Come out. Come out. Don't be afraid. You were born a child of dragons. What could you possibly fear? Now, show yourself, Ocelot. My dear little Ocelot.
So, as you can see here, I think the king is going to be a bit more quiet now, which is why I originally wasn't talking. Oceiros, well, talk about the lore behind Oceiros after the fight. Mechanically, though, as a boss, Oceiros is a bit of a weird one. Definitely see what they are going for, and it's definitely fairly cool. But I can't say I'm the biggest fan of this boss. He does this all day, every day. Running to different sides of the room. Basically just kind of wasting my time. He's not he can do some decent damage with that charge, but he's not a terribly difficult enemy. And honestly, right now, I promise you the only reason he's still alive, or I assume the only reason he's still alive, watch me say this and then they changed it in this game, but I think the only reason we're still fighting Oceiros is because we brought Hawkwood in, basically doubling the boss's HP. And Hawkwood immediately died like a punk and left us to deal with this situation all on our own. Oh, what a lovely hitbox. Normally does not take this long to deal with him. Okay, that's fine. Go all the way over there. You see what I mean by being sort of irritating. Most of the damage I'm going to take here is just out of impatience. getting there. Oof. Basically, the only damage or attack he does that does a ton of damage is his charge attacks. Oh. Let's end this. Soul of consumed Oceiros. Yay. Yep, so there he goes. Down he goes. Cool fight. Lots of cool lore implications. Well, I'm sorry. Cool design. Lots of cool lore indications. Not my favorite boss. Really. We will discuss more about Oceiros, though, and perhaps point and laugh at Hawkwood in the next episode, because we are pretty much running out of time now. Thank you, as always, for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope you join me again. Until next time, though, take it easy, everyone.